Understable, overstable. What are the differences and why does it matter? Today we're going to talk about the differences between understable and overstable, why it matters, especially for beginners or people learning to throw discs into headwinds or tailwinds. We'll cover it all. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button before we get started. And with that being said, let's dive into understable versus overstable. As you can see here with my visually stunning graphics design, an understable disc tends to turn to the right before looping back to the left when its fade number kicks in. The higher that turn number, the more understable the disc is in general, even though it can also have a high fade number. Overstable discs tend to travel straight in that direction, pulling towards their fade number the entire time. Here I'm throwing my Northman, and as you can see, it pulls slightly to the right before fading back to the left. I would consider it a generally stable, slightly understable disc. In this next shot, I'm throwing the Sergeant, which is far more overstable than the Northman. It doesn't pull to the right at all. It just completely fades to the left after it's finished with its straight run. So generally speaking, with a right-hand backhand, you get a leftward curve. And with a right-hand forehand, you get a rightward curve. Again, generally speaking. It's also important to understand there are certain dynamics at play here, and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. What is understable and overstable now when you're a beginner versus what is understable and overstable later when you're much better are two different things. Not to mention the fact that if you're like me and you like to hit every one of these trees out here, your overstable and stable disc will become more understable as you pound them in, hitting these oak and pine trees. Now with an understable disc, the disc tends to fold down on the right hand side of the disc, and you can see this one's been through a lot of trees. On an overstable disc, it tends to fold down more on the left side of the disc. Understability and overstability even affects putters. As you can see here with the Warden, I've got more glide and less fade at the end. Here with the Sake Bomb Slammer, which is more overstable, I get less glide and more fade at the end. Under and overstability affect the putters on little trick shots as well. When I'm trying to throw a right hand, backhand, and hyzer, I get the Warden to pull back to the left more subtly and the Sake Bomb more harshly. Forehand shots really bring out the under and overstability. On this first throw, I'm throwing the Halo, which is generally stable, maybe a little overstable. But thrown from a forehand, it peels off hard to the left and doesn't come back till late. On this next shot, I'm throwing the Enforcer, which has a lot more stability to it. And as you can see, it just turns right in. Unfortunately, we also have to deal with tailwinds and headwinds, both of which significantly impact the under and overstability of your disc. In headwind conditions, overstable discs are generally preferred. Headwinds make discs behave as if they're flying faster, which can cause understable discs to turn over excessively and become difficult to control. When throwing with a tailwind, understable discs can be advantageous. Tailwinds reduce the effective speed of the disc, making the overstable discs fade out more quickly. Fortunately, you don't have to deal with crosswinds too much in the woods, but in crosswind conditions, overstable discs help maintain a more predictable flight path, and it's also better to use heavier discs, which help you achieve a little more overstability. So those are your basic fundamentals on understable and overstable discs. Just remember, it can change based on the conditions of the course with headwinds, tailwinds, lateral winds, and anything else that's going on. Elevation matters too. It will change the understability and the overstability of the disc, as well as your progress. As you become better, understable and overstable will change ever so slightly at a time, and you'll notice it as you go along as well. Once again, I appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to really help the channel out, and we will see you out on the course.